Hey guys, it's Nicole Faltum and you're listening to How's That, the Cricket Podcast.
You messed about, I called you up. How's that?
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of How's That, the Cricket Podcast with me, Lily.
And me, Ollie.
So we're back. We had a little break, a well-needed break. I definitely did enjoy a bit of time off, but I must say I did miss putting together the podcast. But we're back and we're back with another episode and another interview, which is going to be super exciting. So as you would have heard in the intro this week, we had a chat to Nicole Faltum, who was just wonderful. Absolutely love chatting to Nicole. We've been trying to set this one up for some time now, so to finally get to chat to her was really exciting. And yes, that'll be coming up a little bit later, so make sure you stick around for that. But first off, we've got some Big Bash, haven't we? And there's been quite a lot has gone on in the Big Bash world, to say the least. There's been quite a few games since we had our break, so we'll just run over our teams and the scores elsewhere.
So to start off with, we'll start with my Melbourne Stars. We're going to start with a game all the way back on the 23rd of December that may as well have been in the 1930s. It feels that long ago. But Stars, yeah, we lost this game. We got hammered. I was there at Junction Oval, sellout crowd, wonderful day for it. But the Stars didn't quite turn up on field. The Scorchers certainly did. Josh Inglis with a well-made 74, Faf du Plessis with 68, Nick Hobson with 46, all batting really well. The thing that got me here was Josh Inglis was on single figures when he should have been run out by Luke Wood. He miscued the throw and he went on to make another 70-odd. So that was really disappointing. Luke Wood taking the most expensive fifer I've ever seen, the most expensive fifer in Big Bash history, 5 for 50. And then the Stars, we couldn't really chase down the 229 that was set. We got nowhere near it. So yeah, it was pretty easy going for Perth in that one. Part of the double header, which we'll get onto the second game in a little bit. But our games against Perth, this Big Bash, really haven't been ones to write home about for us.
It was same with us, same with the strikers. They've come out of nowhere, the Scorchers, really, and it's been a bit, upsetting to see that, we strikers are doing so well and now they've lost I think 3 or 4 in a row, and I'm just like, oh, we had such a good start and now we've fallen off a bit. So versing the Heat batting first, scoring 166. Now really disappointed because Sam Billings was dropped like 3 or 4 times. He ended up making 79, which is just so expensive for the strikers. It's the saying, catches win matches, and it's very true in this case because Sam Billings went on to have a really good game. But yeah, look, just couldn't do it. Heat winning by 6 runs. They were close, but they were 9 down, the strikers, at their 20 overs, only scoring 160. Jake Weatherald has had a bit of a shocker this year. He hasn't come in clutch with the How's That charm. He's been a bit of the How's That curse, Jake Weatherald has. He's not had too good of a season, and he's actually been dropped out of the squad for Henry Hunt. So yeah, it's not been great for Jake Weatherald. But just in between our game and your game, the Hobart Hurricanes played the Melbourne Renegades. Hurricanes winning by 8 runs and put on a pretty good show there. So you want to go on to Sixers and Stars?
I mean, I don't really, but I suppose we have to, don't we? Again, Stars, just with the bat this year, we just haven't been able to click on all cylinders other than one game, which I'm very excited to talk about in a little while. 150 for 5 we made against the Sydney Sixers at the SCG. Bo Webster, shout out to him. He looks like the only one a lot of the time who's actually putting things together. I know Joe Clark made a ton earlier on in the Big Bash, but he's been very consistent with bat and ball. Bo Webster, probably my MVP of the season so far for us. But he got us out of the mire because we were in a massive spot of bother at some point earlier in the innings. We were 85 for 4 at one point, and we're thinking, okay, this is a problem. Bo Webster just goes and absolutely hammers it around all parts of the SCG. It wasn't enough. They got it done in the final over the Sixers. Moises Enriquez with 52. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. He's 35, been playing in the Big Bash for 10 years. And I'm still, we're all sure how to pronounce it, but Moses with a wonderful 52, James Vince with a 30, Jordan Silk with a runnable 30, and in the end, just not good enough from the Stars in the end. Slightly unlucky. I thought we were going to get close. We brought it back a fair bit, but we were unders at the SEG, and so it proved.
Yeah, and then like we said before, Scorchers are just too good for us at the moment. The next game was the Strikers and the Scorchers. Strikers batting first, scoring 133 for 7 off their 20. It's just not enough when you're playing a team like the Scorchers. They're looking to go back to back. It's just not enough. Really struggled to get going. I think they were like 10 runs off like 5. It was ridiculous. That it really was not good enough. Matt Short got 16, and then Henry Hunt, just as he'd replaced Jake Weatherald, got a duck, which was not great to see. Chris Lynn scored 35, which is the highest score of the innings. Just not good enough when you want to play and win games. Scorchers didn't even really need to score too high of a total. Only needed 134 to win, and took some early wickets. It was looking good. And then Ashton Turner comes to the crease right at the end of the game, and with Jai Richardson, and they start hammering it to all parts of Optus Stadium. And yeah, just not good to watch it. It was disappointing, but like you said, Scorchers looking good.
You know what was interesting to see? The one point I want to make out of this game, there's a few things we want to talk about in each game, but I think Rashid Khan has got the persona of being like the nice guy of the BBL. And I don't think anyone can hate Rashid Khan, but he was going blow for blow with Ashton Turner at points during that game. He was like, there was a bit of a verbal sparring going on. I'm like, we haven't seen this side of Rashid Khan in the, whatever it's been, 4 years since he's been here. It was quite refreshing, to be honest, to see him, have a pop at somebody. It was really strange, but fair enough to him.
Yeah, he always does this thing where you watch him and he'll have like this cunning smile on his face, and whether it's coming up against his Afghanistan teammates or other players, he'll always put his arm around their back and he'll be talking something to them, and you just know he's ripping into him. And I love to watch it because it's like, you don't, like you said, you don't perceive him as that person, but I'd love to hear him mic'd up and just hear what he says to these players. I think that would be absolutely gold. But yeah, what a player, and it's really disappointing that we're going to lose him next game. But yeah, moving on, then it was the Sydney Thunder and the Brisbane Heat. Sydney Thunder winning by 10 wickets. Their opening partnership between Matthew Gilkes and Alex Hales scored all the runs they needed. Obviously, it wasn't too high of a total, only needing 122 to win, but yeah, did it in 11 overs, which I think is definitely a good comeback from the 15 all out. But yeah, good score by the Thunder there. And then it was Sixers and Renegades. Sydney Sixers winning by 34 runs. Melbourne Renegades 115 all out. That's not good from the Renegades, but I'm sure you're okay with that one, as it's the other side of Melbourne. And then it was the rematch of the Sydney Thunder and the Brisbane Heat. Thunder again winning by 11 runs this time. Brisbane put up a bit more of a fight, ended on 171 for 9 off their 20. And then it was the Stars again. So do you want to talk us through that one?
Again, Perth are undoing again away at Optus. It was on at like 4 o'clock in the morning, it seemed like. So I didn't catch much of this. Obviously, with the time zone in Perth, it's tough to watch games if you're outside of Perth, but you understand what they're doing, of course. The Stars again, 135 with the bat. When Trent Boult is your third highest scorer with 23 not out, you know you're in a bit of trouble. Jai Richardson with 4 wickets, Behrendorff and Ty with 2 apiece as well. Yeah, it just shows when Trent Boult is saving your innings that you're in a spot of bother. Shout out to him. A word as well for Hilton Cartwright, who batted really well to save our innings. We were like 88 for 8 at one point, I think. And then, bowled out for 135, and Scorchers doing it 4 down, pretty easy. Adam Lyth with a nicely put together, 35 before he was bowled by Marcus Stoinis, former England opener. So, you'd expect someone of that caliber to do well for Perth, and he did there. And Ashton Turner, again, the man, the myth, the moment at this point, with 53 off 26 over 2 a ball, taking the Scorchers home. Yeah,
so like we said, Scorchers, they're looking like the team to beat at the moment, as obviously the Strikers have dropped down on the table. I think we're sitting at like 4th at the moment, which really isn't great. But yeah, moving on to the Renegades and Sixers again. Sixers winning by 6 wickets with 13 balls remaining. And then it was the Thunder and the Hurricanes. Thunder winning by 62 runs, which was quite a significant win for them. And then it was the one and only, the How's That Derby, Melbourne Stars and Adelaide Strikers on New Year's Eve. Now, you were the one who was travelling over, so do you want to tell us a bit about your experience, what you kind of envisioned the night, what you had in mind for the game, and how it lived up to certain expectations?
Well, I wasn't expecting what we saw. First of all, thanks to you for letting me come over and spend time in Adelaide, and allowing me to tick something off my bucket list. Because obviously I wanted to go to the New Year's Eve game for a while, and given that we were involved, it made sense. I said that I really wasn't confident And you should never write the Stars off. I don't think this is the lesson that I want to learn. Like, obviously,
The entire game.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is my point. You learn lessons, which may have come back to bite me last night as we record this. But look, obviously, I want the Stars to do as well as possible. But it was just one of those where thinking it's in Adelaide. Adelaide start the season well. They've got a good side. It's going to be tough for us to win. And then we go out and make 186 for 7. And we're just thinking, okay, this is nice. This is nice. We're actually making a good total with the bat. Marcus Stoinis was absolutely incredible. I've not seen a knock like that live for a while. He was just amazing. Joe Clark, 42. Tom Rogers with a really nice 30. Good opening partnership that set the tone, which is what we needed last night. Didn't get. And then Peter Siddle didn't bowl well. Wasn't his best day. Which I'm sure I'll let you rant about him later. Henry Thornton got absolutely hammered to all parts of Adelaide over. One over, I think he got 27 bowled off him. So he's had a good season. It just wasn't his night either. But it was the Stars' night, and that's all that matters, really. We were able to chase it down. We were able to defend the total, Liam Hatcher with 2 in 2 before getting dropped. So that's a bit harsh to take 2 wickets and 2 balls and then get dropped for the next game. But he bowled well. Bo Webster bowled well. Adam Zampa just kept restricting the Adelaide strikers, and it got close towards the end, but we had enough, and I got to go home happy the next day, and 40,000 South Australians had their tails in between their legs. So, look, it was nice. It was nice for us to show up on your biggest day of the year, and make a good game of it. Obviously, the fireworks and the post-match stuff was incredible as well. It was a really great night, not just because of the result, but everything that went with it as well.
So in conclusion, you just need to have a little bit more faith in your team, because throughout the entire night, as I was sitting next to you, I can confirm that you're going, before the game even started, you're like, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. We're not going to win this. We're not going to win this.
Well, to be fair, I had more belief once the game started. And when we got going, I was like, okay, we're in a good position here. And then for those that don't know me too well, I'm a very nervous sports fan. So if you watch a game with me, you'll be able to see it. And I'm always pessimistic. Like, when a game's close, I'm always thinking, oh, we're going to lose. Like when Adam Hose was whacking him around and Rashid Khan, was hitting a few for 6, I'm thinking, gee, this is going to be really close. I said it right the way through that it was going to be close. It's like, you're like, oh, no, it's going to be one-sided. You're going to absolutely batter us. You're going to win by 40-odd runs. And I was like, no, this will be close. But I'm just really glad we got the win. First time I've seen, I don't think I saw the WBBL side win live. So I think it's the first time I'd seen a Stars team win live in like 3 years. So it was nice to end the drought. And obviously to go to Adelaide Oval, 40,000. It was a wonderful crowd. So well done to all of the strike show for getting out there. I sound like an Adelaide Strikers fan now. I am certain. Yeah, but you know what I mean. I'm certainly a fan of the BBL, and that was good to see as a fan of the BBL. And it was just nice to see us win for a change, because we just kept losing up to that point. To see us win was beautiful, and hopefully it's a feeling that maybe I get a couple more times this season. Who knows?
But then moving on to the Renegades and Scorchers. Scorchers winning by 5 wickets in that game on the 1st of January. And then there was the Brisbane Heat and the Sydney Sixers. Heat winning by 15 runs, which took me by surprise. Brisbane Heat, 224. Mental. Would not think that was a score that they'd be getting. And then Adelaide Strikers, Hobart Hurricanes. Hurricanes winning by 7 wickets. Really disappointing game. We set a relatively good total. Thought we could have defended it, but no. Caleb Jewell was too good on the night, scoring 54 off 28. Another 53 from Ben McDermott as well. Look, disappointing to not see the Strikers get the win after Chris Lynn hit 87. You'd want your team to back up a win with a score like that, but yeah, disappointing from the Strikers there. And then the next one was last night, and that was Renegades and Stars. Do you want to talk through that?
Yeah, this was a bad one. This was a bad one. Obviously, there's one main talking point out of this, and I'd like to go there first. The attempted man-cad from Adam Zampa. The Stars captain, we left this game slightly early because we had a fair way to get back. To get back home from Melbourne, it took us like an hour and a half to get back. So we left a couple of overs early. I will admit that straight away, which I don't like doing, but I felt like that was one of the rare exceptions. we checked Twitter after we leave, and apparently, as he went out to bat, Adam Zampa was booed by the MCG crowd, which is not something you would expect to coming into the night. Honestly, I was sat there with a couple of friends of mine, and all three of us were in just absolute disbelief at what we'd just seen. It was like, we said that the Mankad attempt alone was worth the price of admission, and it was so strange. And then obviously it was on the Renegades Tom Rogers, who then came out half an hour later. He had 5 wickets to his name. So it's just one of those things. I don't like Mankads. I to be brutally honest, the way he went about it was so casual and nonchalant. But still, I'm not a fan of Mankads. I'll say that as a Stars fan. I'm not a fan of that, the way he went about it. After such a good bowling performance, it probably wasn't what we needed. But I just want to get your thoughts on that, and to, another Mankad controversy in the world of cricket.
I know, it's following on from that Deep to Sharma one against England in the ODI series, isn't it? It's not great. I don't like him at all. I'm one of those people who doesn't think it's within the spirit of cricket, and it just feels like, you can't find any other way to get them out. You have to do it like that. I'm like, it's you're stooping quite low if you feel like that's the only way you can get the batter out. But yeah, like we said off air, I thought it was quite funny how Zampa, he did it, and he strutted back to his mark, and he was standing there waiting for him to walk off, all confident that he'd just Mankad someone, and then he wasn't even out. And I'm like, what can you say? Maybe you shouldn't have done it, and you would have been okay. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, to try and flip it back though, it was so far out of his crease, so far out. Like, he goes halfway down his wicket before the bails are broken. He's halfway down his wicket.
I rewatched it, and because Zampa, it wasn't out obviously because he'd done a full circle of his arm, right? He'd done a full rotation.
He'd gone past the vertical. So,
but by the time that Zampa his arm was kind of like almost going straight down the wicket, that was when Tom Rogers was quite far out of his crease. So I'm thinking, like, if you watch it back, I don't think he was too far out when his arm was behind vertical, because obviously he was staying in his crease. And then it was when Zampa followed through and then took the bails, he was out of his crease, which would be okay usually because it's gone past the vertical. So I don't know, watching it back, I'm not too sure whether he was that far out, but it was, it's still funny. And I'm just glad it hasn't happened to my team yet. We're just trying to stay out of it. I'm trying to stay out of it, but yeah, definitely interesting for sure. But yeah, is there anything else in that game that you want to talk about?
Well, I do want to give an actual shout out to what Tom Rogers was in control of, the Renegades Tom Rogers. We said that we should have to initially get the middle names out so we can separate the two. But he took a fifer, and his spell of bowling, the wicket, the ball to Joe Clark was insane, spectacular delivery. In the first legal ball of that game, to get rid of Clark. Then the one to get rid of the Stars Tom Rogers was an absolute seed. Please, I hope you're keeping up with all the Tom Rogerses here. It's
Tom Rogers bowled by Tom Rogers.
Yeah,
that's a sight. That's a funny sight to see, that one.
But yeah, we were tracking it as we were going along, like saying, "Oh, who's going to be the better Tom Rogers?" And obviously the Renegades won that. He bowled really well, and yeah, a disappointing one. We can turn up on Adelaide's biggest night of the year, and we can't turn up on our own. I think that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, and then obviously we missed in the Heat and Sixers game. We will very briefly talk about the controversial catch. It's definitely been a very controversial catch to dismiss Jordan Silk. Now, Michael Neser, he juggled it, he threw it up, he ran outside the boundary. What do you make of that dismissal?
I'll be succinct. Really well umpired, but the rule shouldn't exist. The rule was correctly used, but I think the rule should be changed. I don't agree with the fact that you can just stand outside the boundary, throw it up to yourself, and then throw it back and take the catch. Personally, yeah. I like the ones where they take the catch inside the boundary, throw it up over the boundary, and then get back inside the field of play and take the catch. Like, we see that so many times. I don't like this one. I'll be honest. I think it's bending the rules too much, or not bending the rules because they're inside the rules, but you see my point.
I think it was very, very smart thinking by Nisa, though. I think he was very switched on in order to think to do that. Because when, like, just imagine, right, you've got like this full crowd of people to think to even do that, like, it's quite smart. Like, you know, you've got to give it to him to think, right, like, I can do this right now, like, I can chuck it up. And for him to, like, those rules to run through his mind, to think what the rules are, you know, I think it was very smart. Yeah, like you said, whether it should be out, I don't know, but you know, I think it's one of those things where it's like a mancad sort of situation, you know, it's in the rules. Is it necessarily fair? Probably not, but yeah, it's smart thinking definitely in the spur of the moment. But I guess, like, you know, his feet never touch the ground, so it's almost like his feet are up in the air but he's inside the boundary, but his arms over the boundary. You know, it's I guess that's what it is technically, because his feet never actually touched the ground while he had the ball in his hand. So yeah, that's another interesting one. But yeah, that's where we're at with the Big Bash, I think. Yeah, so moving on to our interview now. This week we spoke to Nicole Faltum, who is the captain of the Melbourne Stars, and it was brilliant to chat to her.
Yeah, just nice to have a Stars guest on, obviously. Wonderful player, captain of the team, bona fide leader. Like, you can't complain. And then the actual interview itself was, I think, one of our favourites to do. We love every single interview we do, but again, we just came away from this one thinking, yeah, that was amazing. That was. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and she's a wonderful person. Great to have her on.
Yeah, so enjoy our interview with Nicole Faltum.
It's one leg side, and that brings up a very good half century with a boundary. Delightfully timed behind square leg. And Nicole Faltum raised the bat.
Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today, Nicole.
Thanks, Lily. Appreciate it.
Do you mind just telling us where in the world you are at the moment and where you're kind of at with your cricket, and, you know, what teams you're associated with at this point?
Yep. Right now I'm sitting in an upstairs meeting room at Junction Oval. So I've got a beautiful view actually at the moment of the Oval, which is nice. I grew up in Gippsland, which is about 2 hours from Melbourne, and played all my junior cricket there. And then after school, moved to Melbourne. And was lucky enough to be contracted with Victoria and the Melbourne Stars when I was in year 11 at school.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a long time. You've been with the Stars in Victoria. So if you take us right back to the very beginning there, you said year 11, so juggling school and getting your first professional contract. Can you tell us what that whole experience was like for you? You know, reflecting on it years later now.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind, to be honest, and I don't think I really realised how big it was until I kind of do look back at it now with a little bit more of a mature head. So yeah, I was 17 when I made my debut for both Victoria and for the Melbourne Stars, both being in year 11 at school, which was just crazy, to be honest. And then it was like year and year after that. So did my whole year 12 with juggling, being a professional cricketer, I guess, playing for Victoria and training for Victoria. And I was lucky enough that I had incredible support people around me, mainly being Victoria at the time, was so great with me juggling school and obviously living in the country as well. So my contact hours were probably not as up there as I would have liked, probably for both school and for cricket. But yeah, I was really lucky, whereas they told me to focus on my school, and that was sort of the most important thing at the time. And I don't think I believed that at the time, and definitely chose cricket more so. But yeah, super grateful for both school and cricket at the time. They were so supportive of one another.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, times have progressed probably since a few years ago when you made your debut. So I'm not sure kind of what the paid contract situation was for you, but did you have to have a job as well when you were younger? And if so, did that include itself within the three? And what was that like for you?
Yeah, well, when I got my first contract I think that was the first year that contracts went like semi-professional. So from when they did turn to be paid. But yeah, I worked at the time. My first job was at Woolworths in Moe. And I'd worked there for, I think since I was 15. So I kept working there when I got both my contracts and was like, no, I've got to work. And then slowly realised that it wasn't really realistic to be able to juggle school, work and be able to train. So yeah, after I think it was a year or so, I sacked off Lilies.
Yeah.
Probably a decent decision given how well you're doing now at the moment. But you spoke about your upbringing a little bit before, in Gippsland area. How did that get involved with your cricket then? So obviously you've started there and progressed from there, but how did you first start playing cricket? Was there a family influence, or was it sort of individual?
Yeah, I'm one of 5, so I've got 2 older brothers, an older sister and a younger sister. So come from a pretty big family, and a super sporty family. So growing up, I played sort of every sport under the sun. But my dad played cricket, and my 2 older brothers used to play. I mean, my dad still does play. So yeah, like probably most girls and boys that play, like when your family's involved in it and your siblings play, you get dragged along. And eventually I got sick of watching, and I wanted to play. And at that time, most of my friends from school also played. So yeah, just wanted to jump on the bandwagon with my brothers and my dad and all my mates that played at school. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it.
Yeah, and you spoke about your family all, playing cricket and being around sport. Now that you've got to such a level, is there sort of the bragging rights in the family now that you've got to the top and you're doing so well?
Probably of us as kids, maybe, yeah, a little. But my mum actually played, not many people know this, my mum played futsal, so indoor soccer for Australia. So that's pretty cool. So I don't think I've quite topped her with that one. And I often get reminded of that when I go back home and, speak to other family members, or I meet some of mum and dad's friends who, now I haven't met them for a long time. And when they see that I'm a bit older, they also remind me that mum was a very good indoor soccer player. So yeah, I don't know, Ollie. I don't know if I've got those bragging rights just yet.
You've got time.
Yeah.
You've certainly got time. But obviously, if we go back then, your family must have been massive role models to you. But, in terms of cricket and maybe professional cricketers that you maybe saw or were able to go and watch, I don't know if you've got to see many games growing up being from Gippsland, but, in terms of cricket, who are your role models growing up?
Yeah, obviously family were massive influences on me, but also definitely other cricketers. I loved watching Adam Gilchrist from the men's game growing up. I just loved how he sort of changed the game from a keeper's perspective, and obviously not just being a keeper and then being able to, how he changed it to make that role to be just as important as a batter. But yeah, I was actually lucky enough to get quite exposed to it. I went down to Dandenong Cricket Club when I was pretty young and trained alongside them. And at that time, people like Catherine Fitzpatrick were involved, and Callie Appleby, Sarah Elliott. And at the time, they played for Victoria. And obviously, those games, weren't as publicised as they are now and stuff. So you didn't really know that they were on unless you kind of got into conversations with people. So yeah, I actually went down and I remember watching those guys play when they played T20s for Victoria as well, so before the Big Bash. And I loved watching Callie Appleby and Sarah Elliott. But yeah, I really looked up to Sophie Molyneux, who's only a few years older than me, but because she's a Gippsland girl as well, I loved watching her and obviously saw her a little bit more regularly. So she was massive for me as well. And obviously she did it a couple of years before I did it. So it kind of just made it a little bit more real that those dreams sort of were realistic and it can be done.
Yeah, and you spoke about your idols growing up playing for Victoria in T20s, and the games weren't publicised. Obviously, the games now, they're all live stream, you can watch them all. And it really just shows how far women's cricket has gone. How good is it from your point of view and a teammate's point of view that all these games are available to be watched now, and, if people want to watch, they can?
Yeah, it's so bloody cool. I mean, you hear of people walking down the street, or even, you turn the news on or you turn the TV on and you see a female sporting match and then a female professional cricket game. It's so cool. And obviously with the likes of like social media and things like that, now it all just gets pumped through there, and young boys and girls, they've always got their phones in their hands. So you can access games at, the click of a button or whatever it is. And it is so cool to look back on where it's come from and where it is now. And then even more so how much further we've still got to go in it. I think it's unreal.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, it's progressing day by day, and we'll obviously talk more about the progression with the Big Bash in a moment. But going back to what you said before, you mentioned Adam Gilchrist and looking up to him being a wicketkeeper. Now, how did wicketkeeping kind of start for you? Because it's a pretty tricky thing to get into. Like, there's only one in a team, so you've got to be one of the best in order to do that. So why did you want to become a wicketkeeper, and what did you love about that position?
Yeah, it is quite niche. There was a few different reasons actually. I soon realised that bowling wasn't my thing. I wasn't the best bowler. Also, growing up, I actually batting wasn't I was okay, but it was I wasn't pumping out runs and I wasn't loving it. And I had okay hand-eye coordination, so I'm like, right. And I was that kid that kind of just gave everything a crack. So I was like, okay, I'll give keeping a go. And I think I tried out for School Sport Victoria under 12s team. And I was lucky enough to make that team. And I'm pretty sure, at the tryouts, they were like, right, who wicket keeps? And my brother wicket kept. And I hadn't played loads of cricket before going to these trials and things like that. And I was like, I had the keeping stuff in my bag and I'd tried it a few times. So I'm like, right, I was a pretty confident kid, still sort of am, confident girl. I was like, yeah, okay, I wicket keep. I definitely don't wicket keep. It's not my thing, but I put my hand up and I was like, yeah, right, I'll do it. And then, I think I just got sucked in since then. They were like, right, okay, yep, you're okay that you can catch a ball. And so I love doing it, and bowling wasn't my thing. So I just stuck with it.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's good that you found your thing, just by sticking your hand up and giving it a crack. That's brilliant. But what was your pathway from then? Progressing up to where you are now, what teams did you play for in order to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I played all my junior cricket for Trafalgar Cricket Club. So I played where there was no girls teams in those competitions. So I played under 14s and under 16s boys teams. Played under 12 School Sport Victoria in that team, and then 1 year of under 15s for Victoria. And then the year after that, it went to under 18s at that time. So I was quite young, but I still tried out for the under 18s team, and I was lucky enough to get picked in that side. And they actually won it that year. I did not much at all. I was a specialist fielder at that point, and I absolutely loved it. I learned so much. Sophie Molyneux was our captain. Had some incredible players playing in that team, and then I played in the under 18s Victoria for the next 3 years. And then there was a bit of overlap when I was playing in those teams and when I was contracted. So just went through the normal pathway of playing for my club, and then for Gippsland representative teams, and then for underage Victoria teams.
Yeah, so you mentioned there about playing with the boys, in the junior setup. Now, obviously, there are a lot more young girls teams now, but obviously, even when I was playing when I was younger, there wasn't girls teams, and I'm only 18, so not too different from you, I guess. But for you, playing with the boys, was there anything that you maybe learnt from playing with them? Because sometimes it can be a bit tricky to play with the boys, or was your team relatively understanding and helped you out a lot there?
Yeah, absolutely. My team was incredible. I still say now I wouldn't be in the position that I am without A, my teammates, and B, the club that I played for. They were some of my best mates that I went to school with, that I played with. So I think that helped a lot. And no matter what, they backed me up. And I do remember playing against some teams. They weren't as understanding and, weren't as great in realising that, girls can play cricket, and as a male-dominated sport at the time. And I just remember my teammates being, incredible and just backing and supporting me no matter what. But and the club as a whole was incredible. But I learned so much playing in the boys teams. I personally think that it just developed me a lot quicker than if I was playing just against girls. I mean, the boys at that age, they grow a lot quicker than what we do. So I felt like they bowled a little bit faster and with a little bit more bounce, being that little bit taller and whatnot. So I think it actually made my skill have to develop a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we go back to WBBL, obviously the season's just finished, but of course the Stars unable to make finals, but still a positive season in a lot of ways. Could you talk through, the inner sanctum of that Stars side, both personally and as a team?
Yeah, it was good. The Strikers won. It was an impressive game the other night. And I'm right for them, to be honest. WBBL it had it all, to be honest. It was exciting. It was challenging. It was new. But all in all, it was enjoyable. I had a really good time. I think probably one thing for our Stars team is our win-losses didn't really reflect our season. We had a few games that were washed out with rain, and that affected the draw, the tally and whatnot. But I actually think we played some really, really good cricket in patches, and the games that we lost, we actually performed quite well, and we they were sort of those 1-over games. They come down to the last over or the second last over. But yeah, it was good. Captaining had its challenges at the start. I was very nervous about it, if I'm being honest. And yeah, it's like anything, when something's really new and it's unfamiliar, then you just doubt yourself a little bit. But as the season went on, I got a lot more comfortable with that and had incredible support with the team that I had. So really, really lucky in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, WBB was your first season captaining the side. You replaced Meg Lanning, of all people, two of the biggest shoes to fill in Australian cricket. Could you go through like the phone call when you found out? And then again, did it sink in straight away? Was it one of those things that's like, I'm about to captain the Melbourne Stars, or did it take time to sort of settle in?
Yeah, the initial conversation was it could be an option was the first thing. And I was like, okay, right, that could be pretty cool. And because the word could was used, I was like, right, okay, I didn't get too excited. I didn't sort of really get my hopes up. I didn't think about it all that much. And then WBBL obviously got a little bit closer, and then we'd obviously heard that Meg wasn't returning yet. So went and had another conversation, and that one was that you will captain. Yeah, it was a bit of, it wasn't a shock, but I was like, whoa, okay, that is really, really big. And it wasn't until I did my first press conference that I did when I was captain, and they said, can you please stand there and tell me your name and your title? And usually I just say, like, Nicole Faltum, I'm the wicketkeeper for the Melbourne Stars. And our media manager said at the time that, you got your title and whatever, like, yeah, sweet. And then I stood there and I was like, I'm Nicole Faltum, I'm the captain of the Melbourne Stars. And that's when I stopped and I was like, what the hell? I was like, that sounds so weird. Like, I always, dreamt to play cricket professionally. And then when I was able to do that, I was like, that in itself is a dream come true. But to be able to captain a Big Bash franchise is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And you've done a wonderful job so far this season, and long may it continue. Obviously, you took over from Meg Lanning, and you've played alongside some wonderful leaders in Australian cricket. You look at Lanning, you look at Lizelle Lee, you look at Elise Perry at state level. Have any of these leaders impacted your captaincy? And if so, how have they done it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I reckon that's where I'm probably really lucky. I've played under some incredible players and some incredible leaders, and also worked alongside them as well. So, I've obviously played in teams that have had some huge names. Like you said, I've played alongside Elise Perry for a number of years, Sophie Molyneux, who has captained our Victorian team and is the Melbourne Renegades captain. And she's an incredible leader in herself. And to be able to sort of grow up alongside her and understand her leadership qualities, and be able to learn off them, is just invaluable. And I feel super, super lucky to have those guys. Elise Villani, who I've played under for a number of years, and someone who I look up to both personally, both from a cricket perspective and a leadership perspective, is really cool. And I think I said it just before, but I've just been so lucky with the people that I've played under, and to being able to work alongside and just pretty much be a sponge and just soak it up from all of those guys. So yeah, I've been very lucky from that perspective.
Yeah, the names I reel off aren't the only ones by far. There's plenty more, but again, there's so many that you've played under, and so many that seem to have had an impact on your captaincy. But moving on from that, obviously you are now a leader in the Stars team. There's no question about that. Do you see yourself as an inspiration to fans and young girls, wanting to play cricket? And is there maybe a moment where a fan's come up to you and maybe said that to you? And is there one, where you've just been taken aback, just saying, wow, like, I'm having a real impact here?
Yeah, it actually is really, really cool. And it's not something that you think about it day to day. You come in, you train, and I play because I absolutely love it. And it's what I love to do. I love hanging out with my teammates every day, and I love competing. That's why I do it. And then, when you rock up to some grounds and you see young boys and girls, older fans just sitting there and watching and admiring, you do realize that it's bigger than yourself, and it's bigger than your team, and it's bigger than your club. And I think that's pretty bloody cool when you're standing out there, or you're walking out onto the field, and you hear people cheering, and you look at people in the stands or on the hill or whatever it is, and they're just standing there in pure joy. That fills me with joy. And if I can continue to do that, I'm really happy.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like you said, there's so many young Stars fans who I know that look up to you being captain. And now, talking as being the captain of the Stars team, you had a couple of international players come over this year, 3 English recruits, and you had Jemima as well. you had Lauren Winfield-Hill, Bessie and Alice Capsey come over. Now, what was it like to captain them within that Stars team this year, and what did they bring to the group?
Yeah, Lauren Winfield-Hill, firstly, was incredible. Obviously, she's played for a number of years in different teams for her country and has so much knowledge and experience. So to be able to lean on her, to learn off her, and just to use her experiences was invaluable. She was incredible for me, both on and off the field. She was kind of my go-to when I felt a little bit under pressure on game days, and when I needed a question answered. She was someone who I really trusted out there on the field. So yeah, both her knowledge and experience was super helpful. And we didn't even touch on her skill there. She was very good for us at the first half of the tournament and even the back end. You know, just the way that she went out there and just played with freedom, and you could tell that she's played cricket for a number of years and for so many sides. Caps was exciting. We obviously saw her in the 100 the last couple of years, just dominating that. And we saw a few innings that she did the exact same. So I think she's going to be a super exciting player for a number of years.
Yeah, definitely. And then also talking about the group as a whole, it looks like, you know, you're all really close with each other playing state cricket and the Stars as well. So what's it like to have such a tight-knit group within the Stars, and how much do you think this will help the club going forward, you know, being so close and being so tight-knit?
Yeah, I think it's super important to firstly be really, really good mates, and then to be really good teammates. So I just found that there's a massive level of trust and respect for each player. And I think to be able to go out there and perform that's super important. And like you said, yeah, there's a core group of us that are Victorian players who deal with each other, you know, day in, day out. And then to go into the Big Bash all together was really, really cool. So if we can get that core group of players to stick together, then yeah, I'm really hopeful that we'll be quite a successful team in hopefully next year and for many years to come.
Yeah, there was the one that, you know, the one in person that we look at was the video that was posted with there was 3 of you there that were trying to film the video in the last day of the season. And it seemed to take you a long while, and it just looked absolutely awesome. It looked hilarious, and it just showed that the Stars were on point, which was brilliant to see as a fan. But of course, you know, that was in Maui, your part of the world. Obviously, the Stars have played many games there, men's and women's Big Bash, but you were captaining your team in your backyard. How special was that? And is that a moment you already, you know, it was only a week ago or so, but you look back on fondly already?
Yeah, that was pretty bloody special. I mean, in the lead up, I thought, you know, this is going to be pretty cool. Going to go down to Maui and be able to play a game, you know, that's just down the road from my house, and you know, where I grew up and whatever it is. And then when it actually got to the day and I was out there and I looked in the crowd and saw, you know, so many of my family and friends there, and people who have supported me for so long, it was a really special day. And further than that, just to see some of those kids that got to experience professional female sporting match down there who may not be lucky enough to be able to drive to Melbourne or, you know, get on the train and go that way and usually be able to watch a game like that is really cool. So for us, the Melbourne Stars and the other teams that were there and the other clubs to be able to put on that game for those young boys and girls to be able to watch it who may not have access to it normally was really special. But to have my family and friends there was something else. It was really nice. Yeah.
And obviously the rain didn't help, but otherwise I think it was a really well put together event. You'll know more than most how much, you know, playing at, you know, so-called outgrounds is, you know, given that you wouldn't have been exposed to much cricket growing up. Obviously, since the Big Bash, the women's Big Bash teams moved, they're playing, you know, away from the massive grounds like they used to, and they're playing at smaller grounds. Obviously, there's pros and cons to both. But how important do you think playing at smaller club grounds is, and how much do you think that can help grow women's cricket as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to have definitely a balance of playing at both the big venues to be able to attract, you know, big population areas to attract big crowds and whatnot, but then to go to rural grounds and be able to put on a game like that for, like I said before, for people who may not, you know, always be able to have access to it is really cool. And for them to be able to watch and get inspired, and hopefully if we can keep encouraging that next generation to play cricket, then I think that in itself is doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've played for the Stars 67 times to the number. You made your debut in WBBL 03. Obviously, you've seen the Stars firsthand develop as a club. You've also seen the league develop as well. How special has it been to be, you know, a first-hand part of that league as a whole. It's obviously so different now compared to what it was then.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it just kind of leaves you probably a little bit more excited, doesn't it? If that's how far it's come in that many years, then what's it going to look like in 2-3 years' time? What sort of internationals are we going to have playing? You know, the players the younger players who are dominating now, what are they going to look like in 3 years' time? And yeah, it's super exciting, and yeah, it just makes me a bit eager and hungry to keep on playing for more and more years and see where the game goes.
Yeah, and in talking about that, a couple of times you've mentioned about, maybe not making it to finals throughout this season and what you hope to kind of take onto the next season. So is there any key takings that you've taken from this season, whether it's as a team or your personal game that, would make you want to take that next step further next year? Yeah,
well, you look at teams that play in finals, and then you look at the joy on the Adelaide strikers' faces and them sitting up there with the trophy, and we obviously missed out on that 2 seasons ago. And that hurt, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, definitely hungry to be out for that to be us next season. And we feel like we actually weren't that far off this season. I mean, I said it before, our wins and losses don't really reflect our season. We've got a bunch of young players who can certainly perform, but I feel like if we stick together and, we've had that experience this year, if we can go again next year, if each individual maximises their potential, then I feel like we'll be in a really good position and, hopefully be on that podium next year.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. And like we said, I think it's fair to say that everyone thinks that, the Sixers have won it too many times. So it's nice to share it around and get some other people to win it. But kind of back to what you said before, now obviously being involved in the Big Bash since the 3rd season. Now I looked back at one of the team squads the other day and from 03 and it looked like you and Annabelle Sutherland were the only 2 people who are still playing. So from that progression, there's been quite a bit of talks around the Big Bash, like we said, the grounds, crowds, that kind of thing. Have there been some things that you think have really improved throughout your time with the Big Bash, or are there some things that you think could maybe be improved or altered?
Yeah, that is right. I think Bells and I, the only, from our first years, both of our first years at the Stars, we're the only 2 that are still playing for the Stars. So I think that's pretty cool for us both individually, but we're hoping that we can get a core group of players, like I said before, and hopefully we look back at, the 08 squad and we're looking when it's WBBL 13 or whenever it is, hopefully there's still a core group of players that have stuck together, and hopefully we've got a few championship points under our belt. That's not the right saying. A few, what are the little badges on the shirts? Little champion badges on our shirts. A couple of them would be nice. Yeah, I think certainly, I reckon when I first played, we played at some amazing grounds, big grounds, and potentially at that point it didn't attract that many people into the grounds, but playing on those venues itself was really, really cool. So I think a nicer balance between playing in big cities with a big population of people to be able to attract more people in, with a balance of still getting to those rural venues, regional areas, and the more country grounds. I think an even balance of those would be really cool. So we're still playing in big venues and high populated areas. I think that's quite important. I think the quality of cricket has improved out of sight. I mean, if you look at the number of runs scored and the number of wickets that people are taking, number of sixes, number of fours, those kind of things, I actually think the level and quality of cricket has really, really gone up. And I think that's a testament to, girls going more professional and playing more and having way more exposure and that kind of stuff. So, again, it's actually really cool to think, well, next year and the year after that, is it just going to keep getting better and better and better?
Yeah, absolutely. And well, hopefully it does. Obviously, we're cricket fans, we're women's cricket fans. Hopefully, it keeps improving as it has been. It's been wonderful to see. But you talk about the balance there, about playing in, big grounds and small grounds. Have you got an accurate representation of what that is? Is it, 3 or 4 games at an MCG for the Stars and a few outside? Or is it just one of those where it's just, fanciful and let people come up with it, the powers that be?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I'd hate to be involved in the schedule and the scheduling. I'm sure it's an absolute nightmare, but when you look at our schedule, we played 2 games in Melbourne. So if we're playing 14 games and 2 of our games are in Melbourne, well, how are we meant to get all of our Melbourne-based fans coming to our games and watching? So I think maybe a little bit more of an even balance of where you're playing. Grounds is important. You want to play at good grounds and good venues. I think City Power Centre is an amazing venue where you can get still enough people in where the atmosphere is still really good and it looks like lots of people are there and that kind of thing. The same as, like, I reckon if you go to Adelaide, you want to play at places like Karen Roland or Adelaide Oval. You want to play on real high quality grounds. I feel like it improves the game of cricket, and therefore the more people are going to come watch, more people on TV are going to watch those kinds of things. So, yeah, again, I'd hate to be involved in scheduling. I think it would be an absolute nightmare. But, yeah, would love to see just maybe more of your home games be actually played at home and potentially a venue where it actually is your home ground and you become familiar with it. You know the exact dimensions of the grounds, those kind of things. So there actually is a little bit of, that benefit and that thrill of being home and playing a home game.
I mean, on that as well, it's like, I'm pretty sure it was Stars versus Strikers in Perth or something like that, wasn't it? Some sort of game. And I'm like, I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. Like, put it in either Melbourne or Adelaide, surely. Like that those are the kind of things I don't understand. But I'm sure there's a reason behind it, maybe.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't want to be involved in the scheduling and absolute nightmare. But the mutual venues thing could be looked at in the future, and just making sure that you are playing where the most interest is going to be at either club, so more people do get to go and watch and be interested in it.
Definitely, I agree. So now going on to the next part, you played in the Australia A team against England A for the Ashes at the start of the year. What was that experience like, being within that, that second Australia team, and what did you take from that experience?
Yeah, that was amazing. And to do it alongside Tess Flintoff, who's one of my best mates, was really cool. We obviously had Elise Villani playing in that team as well, so it was so nice to get the band back together and all play together, and just experience being on tour. And it being alongside the Ashes was really cool. Obviously, we played our own little series and our own games, but we just got to go and sit and watch when the Oz girls were playing and stuff. And that was really, really cool. And also to be able to just work with different coaches, different players, and just be in a different team dynamic was it was awesome. Yeah,
and I know the Australian team, they kind of mixed theirs up a bit. So when some players got rested from the first team, they came and played in the A team. So like, obviously Elise Perry, I remember Elise Perry playing at Karen Rolton in the Oz A team, which isn't something you see regularly, but obviously playing, you do play cricket alongside her elsewhere. But what was it like to kind of get those bigger players in? And I know people like, Sarah Glenn were playing in the A team as well. So what was that like, playing and with and against some of the top players from both nations?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it sort of happens in the Big Bash, doesn't it, where you come up against some incredible international players, but there was basically 22 incredible players out there. And like you said, Pez dropped down, Belzy, Hannah Darlington did at times. So for them to just filter through our team was really cool. And I think a cool thing there is like you play with players who you don't often get to play with or against as well. Obviously being a Victorian, you play with the Victorian girls, and it happens a little bit when you're younger, you kind of mix, and if you play in some under-19 representative stuff, which I did, you play with different players from other states, but other than that, you don't really if you play for a Melbourne-based Big Bash club, which I do. So to play with other players from other states was also really cool.
Yeah, and do you think, playing in that Oz A team, maybe put you in good stead for potential Australia selection, whether it be, next season, the season after? There's a lot of players who are retiring and getting a bit older now. So do you think that's maybe put you in their eye line a bit?
Yeah, it's an exciting time for young players. We obviously see sort of a whole new generation of Australian players coming through. And I hope so, if I'm being honest. It's a dream of mine to play for Australia. So, I mean, my thing is I hope I just keep performing for Victoria and for the Melbourne Stars. And if I'm lucky enough then to get the Oz call-up, I'll be absolutely thrilled, and definitely something that I'm striving towards.
And then you can be on par with your mum. You can be like, right, I've now got my Oz cap. We're even now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, love it. So now talking about WNCL, now you made your debut in the 2017-18 season for Victoria. Do you remember what that experience was like playing, the 50 over cricket, and if so, can you take us back to that day or that match?
Yep. It was at Marnicarova in Canberra. Catherine Fitzpatrick handed me my cap, and I was a designated fielder, which wasn't anything out of the blue when I played my first couple of games for Victoria and the Stars. I didn't keep when I first started playing. I was just running around in the field, and I batted down the order. I remember I was fielding at point, actually, believe it or not, and I was pooing myself. But yeah, I do remember the day. I debuted alongside Georgia Wareham and Taylor Volemic. So it was a pretty cool day.
Yeah, and obviously, playing further on since then, what's it like to play 50 over cricket for Victoria? Can you take us on the inside a bit, and what's the switch over like between playing T20 and 50 over? Is it tough to maybe switch between the two, or is it relatively easy for you?
Yeah, well, it's just a lot slower paced, really. I find I love training for Victoria, and I love playing one-day cricket. I think that's sort of more my game than T20, so I actually find it a little bit more challenging when it's Big Bash time of year. I love keeping sort of the same, really. I love being in the field and keeping in Big Bash, whereas I find batting a little bit more challenging. My natural game isn't to score boundaries really, really freely, so I struggle to find the rope on demand. So I struggle a little bit flipping between the two, mainly from a batting point of view. But yeah, I love when we get to put our Navy shirts back on. We've got such an incredible group of players, and it's who we spend most of our time with. Obviously, during the week, we're in 4 days a week, and most of us get in quite early and we just hang out, bum around, and then, we train, and we often find ourselves just sitting and talking in the change rooms. And we look at the time as like, crap, it's 5 o'clock, like we've actually got to get going, we've got to go home. So we spend a lot of time together. So to get back in the blue space and play some WNCL cricket in some time will be exciting.
Yeah, and it started a couple of months ago, and your first games were against South Australia down in Adelaide here, and there was some interesting games. Those first two games, the first one went South Australia's way, but with couple of centuries on your side, thinking it should have gone your way, and in the second game as well, really, really well played, but the rain was just like, and then a super over and all a bit confusing. So what was that like for you and the team at the Star? What was going through your minds with that whole super over situation?
Yeah, those games were bizarre to start with. They're obviously our first games of cricket for the year. It got us into the swing of things for Big Bash. I think they were both last over games. So they both came down to the last over. So that got us excited for Big Bash straight away, really. The excitement levels were up there, the same as Big Bash. But yeah, they were exciting games. They had it all. Balsey and Pez scored hundreds in that first game, which was exciting, and then T-Mac obviously smacked him as well. So lots of runs were scored, and they were really exciting games of cricket, which is actually quite nice and good to see. People think one-day cricket it's all boring and it's slow and whatever it is, but it actually can be equally as exciting. So those two games probably replicate that nicely. And then we headed back home and played two against Tasmania. So we played 4. And then, we don't play any in December and kick off again in Jan.
So, you Victoria are currently sitting 5th out of the 7 teams. Now, what are maybe, I know you probably can't give too much away, but what are your plans going into the back half of the season? And how do you and the team maybe hope to jump up the ladder a bit, going into it in January? Yeah,
there's a few challenges, if I'm being honest. We've got quite a few bit of moving parts, and all teams are in the same situation. Obviously, there's the under-19s Australian World Cup, and obviously that team hasn't been picked yet. But teams from all over the country will lose players to that. But yeah, I'm just hoping to kick things off again in Jan. If we can make runs, score freely, and put a complete game together with both bat and ball, then we'll be really happy. And I think same thing applies as what I said before. Really, if each individual can be up there with maximising their own potential, then a team will be really successful. So, obviously Sophie Molyneux is our captain for Victoria, and I'm vice captain. And unfortunately, she goes into surgery next week. So I'll have the job of leading the girls again. So that'll be my messaging. Really, is just we want every player to be able to be the best version of them, both with the bat, with the ball, in the field, whatever it is. So just managing that and getting players to be able to do that, because if that's the case, then we obviously give ourselves the best chance of winning games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a horrible one for Sophie, isn't it? An absolutely horrible one. She had a great start to the WNCL season. She was making runs for fun. And you're just thinking, the world's looking up for Sophie, and then she does an ACL. How horrible was that for you, not only being a teammate of hers, but a close mate as well, just to see someone, close to you who started so well go down with such a horrible injury like that?
Yeah, I honestly reckon it's one of the worst things in sport. I mean, when you're playing with someone or against someone, and you know what they've been through in the past, or you've got that friendship and you've got that relationship with them, and when you watch them get injured or hurt, it honestly just, it takes it out of me. I hate that kind of stuff. And we're obviously playing against Soph, and I came off the ground and we won, and I just didn't know how to feel. I felt really empty and super emotional, if I'm being honest. I obviously didn't know at the time what had happened, but absolutely gutted for her, and especially what she's been through, the past couple of injuries and whatnot. But have huge confidence that post surgery she'll be bigger and better than ever. And she's the type of person that she'll stay super positive and still be worried about everyone else, and she'll do her best to get back.
Yeah, obviously that game was the Melbourne Derby, wasn't it? Where the Stars obviously the double over the Renegades. So it must have been incredibly bittersweet being the captain of the Stars, having 2 wins over the Renegades, but one of them soured so badly by an injury to a rival, but also a mate as well. How did that sort of feel, winning that game, but then also realizing that, one of your best mates has gone down injured?
Yeah, it was horrible. And obviously I just watched one of our other best mates just absolutely bosh him at the other end as well. Like, Bells was whacking him just 6 after 6 after 6. And then that happened to Soph. Like, I was so happy for Bells, and then I felt gutted, and then I was so sad that Soph had hurt herself, but I was so happy that we won. And it was mixed emotions for sure. But Soph was stoked. She wasn't worried about herself and was just trying to make sure that everyone else was okay. Shock from the get-go. So definitely bittersweet that day.
It can be a crazy game of cricket, can't it? Because obviously a game like that, it's the biggest game, the way I see it anyway, for the Stars. It's the biggest game of the season. It's the one you circle when the fixtures come out. You win the game and you're not still feeling 100%. It's so strange, but then so understandable at the same time.
Yeah, it's a shocking feeling.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. But to move on now, have you got a favourite cricket memory from either playing or watching cricket in your lifetime?
Oh, this is such a good question. And every time I'm like, I don't know. And then I finish and I'm like, I just remember all these amazing memories. The team that I spoke about at the beginning somewhere, when I was saying I got picked when I was quite a number of years down age in that under-18s team for Victoria. We won the under-18 championship that year, and that was pretty cool. I was obviously just a young punk, and I looked up to some of the best players at the time, and they accepted me and embraced me and whatever, and I just got to hang out with like all those older girls, and then we were obviously successful and won it, and that was pretty cool. And under 19s Oz trip I went on to South Africa was pretty cool, with some amazing players in that and some of my best mates, so that was pretty cool as well.
So there's a fair few cricket memories, and as you say, there's a lot on the way as well, you'd think. This is going to be a tough one given how glowingly you've spoken about some of your teammates, but is there one you can pick out as being a favourite of yours?
That is a really hard question. Okay, this someone who I don't play with anymore, but I absolutely love playing with Elise Villani. I was absolutely gutted when she left Victoria and the Stars. Just someone I look up to so much, and love playing alongside. I love her passion. I love her energy. I love her excitement. Incredible person and incredible cricketer.
Yeah, she is, and I think every Stars fan was sad when we realised that she wasn't going to be playing for us. And as a player, it must have been amplified as well, because she's just incredible, not only as a player but as a person, it seems like, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I know we talked a little bit before about goals for the future, like wanting to play for Australia and the like, but have you got, maybe outside of that, have you got goals for the future, like maybe playing overseas, or is it just representing your country being the main one?
yeah, representing my country is the main one. I've got a few plans to go over to the UK this summer and play over there. So yeah, really looking forward to that. I've just got to get a few things with visa and whatnot approved. But yeah, looking to play county cricket over there. So I'm super excited about that.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah. Now, we just like to have our last little segment for the interview. We do some quick fire questions, some cricket related, some not cricket related. So the first one is T20 or Test cricket?
T20.
Nice. Now, if you were stuck on a desert island, hypothetically, what person would you take with you and what 2 things are you taking?
I'm taking my good mate Tess Flintoff. I'm taking a flint, like the things that make and this is going to sound horrible, a weapon.
No, I mean, I'd understand completely. It'll get you somewhere, that's for sure. Now, if you're in the last over of a cricket match, let's say it's a Melbourne derby, would you rather hit 3 sixes to win the game, or would you rather take a hat trick of stumpings?
Oh, that's hard. Hat trick of stumpings.
Yeah, nice. I mean, couldn't go wrong as a wicketkeeper, hey?
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favourite shaped flavour?
Oh, yeah. The pink. What's the pink? Bacon, cheese and bacon, is it?
Yeah, okay, that's a first. We haven't had that one yet. Yep, nice. Now, beach or backyard cricket?
Oh, backyard.
Yep, solid. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Good. What's your go-to pizza topping?
I love a good barbecue chicken as a whole. I reckon you can't beat it.
Yeah, nice. Orange juice or apple juice?
Apple juice.
Okay, good. Favorite cuisine?
Oh, Japanese tapas.
Yeah, nice. That's pretty new as well. Yeah, love it. Now, if you're on a game show and you're about to win $1 million and you needed to phone a friend, who would you be calling and why?
Ooh, I think my mum. She'd give me some pretty sound advice, I think.
Yeah. If it was a question about indoor soccer, she'd have it as well, hopefully. No, great. Now, this is a bit of a how's that legendary question. We've asked this since the very beginning. Is porridge a cereal, yes or no?
No.
Yeah, we'd both say that's the right answer. Like we said, there's actually no answer to that one. So it's up to your interpretation.
There's a lot of people that have said yes, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
No. Oh, but what are we saying it is? An oat, isn't it? So like
just breakfast.
Yeah.
Cereal.
Yeah.
Good. But yeah, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really, really great to chat to you. All the best, and thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ollie. Really appreciate it. You guys are great.
Hits one leg side, and that brings up a very good half century with a boundary. Delightfully timed behind square leg. And Nicole Faltum raised the bat.
So that was Stars WBBL captain Nicole Faltum. Yeah, great interview, as we said, off the top of the interview. And yeah, just wonderful to have her on the podcast.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, like you said, great to have another Victorian, and she's moving up the ranks, isn't she? So it's been really good to see her kind of progress into her captaincy role, and to watch her confidence grow in that aspect. It's been really nice to see. So to be able to get her insight and to chat to her all about that it's been really wonderful. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed chatting to Nicole. Now that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Next week we'll be back with another guest. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok at How's That TCP. You can send us an email at howsthatthecricketpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a rating on Spotify as well, which would be really appreciated. But that is all from me this week.
Likewise, enjoy the week of cricket, everyone.
How's that? You missed the